After 13 years of marriage, my wife said she needed time to reconnect with herself. I agreed to couples therapy. She cried, blamed her childhood, said I was too stable and predictable. I believed her. Until her therapist, who was actually my cousin, called me and said, "She's not who you think she is." What I found out in that office changed everything. So I waited until our next session. And handed her the divorce papers in front of the therapist. "Now you have all the time you need." We were married for 13 years. Thought we were solid. We weren't rich, but we were steady. No kids, just 2 dogs, a paid-off house in Dayton, Ohio, and a routine that felt right to me. Up early, coffee at the table, she'd head to her private practice, I'd get in the truck and hit my HVAC jobs. Nights were quiet. Sometimes TV, sometimes dinner with friends, sometimes just music on the porch. It was a good life. Or I thought it was. Her name is Danielle. She was the kind of person people liked right away. Easy smile. Good listener. She'd remember things about people, what kind of tea they liked, how they took their eggs, the name of a coworker's kid. She made people feel seen. I loved that about her. I used to say she was the soft place in the world where I could finally rest. That softness turned out to be something else. It started about a year ago. Subtle shifts. Nothing you could call out directly, but they stacked up. She started spending more time alone. Self-care, she called it. More baths, more books, more yoga classes, more weekend trips by herself. She said she was in a season of reflection. Then came the conversation I'll never forget. I came home from work, sweaty and hungry, ready to grill something. She was sitting on the couch, didn't even look up from her book. "I think I need some time to reconnect with myself," she said, like she was ordering takeout. I stood there with my tool bag in my hand, not sure what she meant. "What do you mean? Like, a break?" She shook her head. "No. Just, less pressure. I feel like I've been living a script. Marriage. Work. All of it. I need to remember who I am." It hit me in the gut. But I didn't argue. I didn't want to be the guy who stopped his wife from growing. I said okay. I even suggested therapy. Maybe we could talk to someone. Try to understand what was going on before things got worse. She lit up at that. "Yes," she said. "That would mean a lot to me." I called Grace the next day. She's my cousin. My mom's sister's daughter. We weren't close growing up, different sides of town, but we reconnected after Grandma's funeral a few years ago. Turns out, she became a therapist. Licensed, experienced, solid reputation in Dayton. I trusted her. I didn't tell Danielle she was my cousin. Grace agreed to see us. Said she could keep it neutral. That's when the real cracks started to show. The first session, Danielle cried the whole time. Said she felt numb. Disconnected. She talked about her dad. He was an alcoholic, used to come home drunk and smash plates. Her mom just watched, never intervened. Danielle said she spent her whole life trying to feel safe. Then she looked at me and said, "And Mike gave me that. He gave me safety." I remember feeling relieved for a second. Like, okay, this is just fear. We can work with this. But then she said something else. "I think maybe he gave me too much safety." Grace asked what that meant. Danielle shrugged. "I don't know who I am anymore. Everything's so routine. I go to work, come home, we cook dinner, watch TV, sleep, repeat. He's amazing, but it's like I'm disappearing." That stung. I didn't say much. Just listened. The next few sessions were more of the same. Grace kept the tone calm. Danielle did most of the talking. I started to feel like a third wheel in my own marriage. Like I was sitting there watching her build a case to leave me, piece by piece. Then one night, about a month into therapy, my phone rang. It was Grace. "Mike," she said. Her voice was different. Lower. Hesitant. "Can you talk?" "Yeah." "What's going on?" "I need to step outside the therapist role for a second. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't serious." She paused. "She's not who you think she is." My heart dropped. "What are you talking about?" "She's been lying." "To you?" "To me." I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but things aren't adding up. "And, I think you deserve to know." Then she told me. Danielle had been cheating. Not with a coworker, not with someone random, but with one of her clients. A man named Eric. Middle-aged. Recently divorced. Came to her for help with anxiety and depression. She was supposed to help him heal. Instead, she crossed every line. Grace found out by accident. During one session, Danielle's phone buzzed. She forgot to silence it. The screen lit up, and Grace saw a message, "Miss you already. Last night was everything." That started the spiral. Grace didn't jump to conclusions. She waited. Observed. Danielle made slip-ups. Told stories that didn't track. Said she was working late, but the clinic had closed hours before. Grace checked public therapist boards. Danielle never reported ending her client relationship with Eric. Which means the relationship was still technically active. Which makes it unethical. Illegal in some states. Grace confronted her privately. Danielle denied it. Then, under pressure, admitted something happened, but claimed it wasn't a big deal. Grace told her she'd need to come clean to me. Danielle promised she would. She didn't. So Grace did. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the back porch, staring at our quiet yard, remembering how we planted those damn hydrangeas together, laughing because I hated yard work. I remembered our 10-year anniversary trip to Asheville. The time she surprised me with tickets to see Tom Petty in Indy. None of it felt real anymore. I didn't tell her I knew. Not yet. Grace had an idea. "One more session," she said. "Let her show you who she really is." I agreed. But I wasn't going in empty-handed. The next day, I called a lawyer. We drafted the papers. No dramatic clauses. No mess. Just the truth in black and white. Our final session was scheduled for Thursday at 6 p.m. I showed up 10 minutes early. Sat in the parking lot, watching the entrance. Danielle pulled in right at 6 o'clock. Got out of the car wearing that soft pink sweater I used to love. She looked peaceful. Like none of this was tearing me in half. We sat down in the office. Grace greeted us, calm as ever. She opened the session with the usual, asking how the week had been. Danielle launched into a speech. That's what it felt like, something rehearsed. "I've been thinking a lot," she said. "About identity. About choices. I've realized I've spent so much of my life trying to please everyone. I don't know who I am without all that. And I think I need to spend some time apart." Grace nodded. Then I pulled the envelope from my coat. Set it on the table. Danielle looked at it, confused. "What's that?" she asked. I slid it toward her. My voice didn't shake. "Divorce papers." She blinked. "Wait, what? You said you need time to find yourself. So here it is." She laughed nervously. "Mike, come on. We're in therapy. This is part of the process." I looked at Grace. She looked back at me, calm. Then she looked at Danielle. Danielle, did you tell him about Eric? Silence. Her face dropped. You told him, she whispered. I gave you the chance to, Grace said. You didn't. Danielle started crying. It wasn't what you think. He was in pain. I was helping him, you slept with him, I said. While he was your client. She shook her head. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lost. I felt invisible, I stood up. Save it. I gave you everything. And you chose this. She begged. She cried. She called me cruel. I walked out. I didn't answer her calls that night. Or the next day. She showed up at my place 3 days later. I was staying in a rental house on the north side of town, nothing fancy, but it had a clean kitchen and a working furnace. She knocked like she still lived there. Like everything hadn't burned to the ground. I didn't open the door. She texted me a long message. Said she was sorry. Said it wasn't just about Eric. Said she felt like she'd been fading in our marriage and didn't know how to say it. I didn't respond. I let my lawyer handle everything from then on. But Danielle didn't go quiet. 2 weeks after that last session, I got a call from Grace again. She sounded different this time. Not calm. Angry. Mike, she said. You need to know something. I wasn't going to tell you this part. But now I think you should know. Apparently, Eric wasn't her first. There'd been another man. Also a client. A year before. It ended fast. Danielle confessed it to her clinical supervisor and claimed it was a minor boundary issue. No formal complaint was filed. She transferred the guy to another therapist. Swept it under the rug. Grace found out from someone in the same practice. Someone who saw the warning signs but didn't want to get involved. My stomach turned. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. The more I learned, the more disgusted I felt. I started thinking about all the times I'd made excuses for her. The nights she came home late. The professional development retreats that never had pictures or names. The girls' weekends, with no photos, no receipts. I had been living next to a stranger. And the worst part? She didn't even seem sorry. She was embarrassed. Scared to lose her license. Afraid of people finding out. But not once did she say, I hurt you. I lied. I broke this. It was always about her pain. Her journey. Her identity crisis. That's when I decided to fight back a little harder. I wasn't interested in dragging her through the mud. But I wasn't going to protect her either. So I gave Grace permission to file the full report. Everything Danielle did, with Eric, with the other guy, went to the Ohio Counselor, Social Worker, and Marriage and Family Therapist Board. An investigation started. Her license was suspended within a month. That's when things got worse. One morning, I woke up to find a long email from Eric's ex-wife. Her name was Monica. She said she'd found my number from a shared friend who knew about what happened. I think we should talk, she wrote. Your wife helped destroy my family. We met at a coffee shop near downtown. Monica was tall, sharp-eyed, with a calm anger that reminded me of someone holding in a scream. She told me everything. Eric started therapy with Danielle after his divorce. Said he was lonely, depressed, barely able to get out of bed. Danielle made him feel seen. Special. Said things to him no therapist should ever say. Then one night, he came over for a private session. That was the start of their affair. Monica found out 6 months later. Read his texts. Saw Danielle's name. He confessed. Said he thought it was love. Said Danielle told him she wasn't happy in her marriage. She painted you like some robot, Monica said. Safe. Predictable. Boring. The kind of man who wouldn't notice she was unhappy. I sat there, stunned. She told him she was going to leave you. That she just needed time to make it clean. That's why she started therapy. That's why she asked for time. She was staging her exit. Setting me up to be the bad guy. Monica leaned in and said something I'll never forget. She never had a crisis, Mike. She had a plan. That meeting with Monica didn't just confirm everything, it flipped the whole timeline upside down. Danielle didn't fall into an affair by accident. She orchestrated it. She'd been planning her escape for months. Maybe even longer. And now I started wondering, if she was that calculated, what else had she planned? I didn't have to wait long to find out. A week later, my lawyer called. Said Danielle was contesting the divorce terms. Not just that, she wanted alimony. Claimed she'd sacrificed career growth to support the marriage. Said I interfered with her healing process by ending therapy so abruptly. I laughed when I heard it. Then I got angry. She burned her own practice to the ground. Lost her license because she crossed every ethical line in the book. And now she wanted me to pay for it? My lawyer was calm. We'll fight it. But it's going to get nasty. And it did. Danielle's new lawyer, some aggressive type out of Cincinnati, filed paperwork accusing me of emotional neglect. Said I stifled her creativity, made her feel invisible, and controlled the household narrative. It was garbage. But it was smart garbage. They were building a story. Painting me as the distant husband, the one too dull, too steady. The kind of man who makes a woman slowly die inside. Grace was furious. She called me after the paperwork hit. She's not just lying, she said. She's trying to make you the villain so she can walk away with money and sympathy. But here's where things took a turn. Monica came back into the picture. Turns out, she'd already filed a separate complaint against Danielle. And she'd saved everything, texts, voicemails, emails. Even had a recording of Eric admitting the relationship started during active therapy. Grace coordinated with Monica. Got the files. Brought them to the state board. And to my lawyer. Suddenly, the case flipped again. Danielle's lawyer went quiet. No more demands. No more accusations. Then the big twist hit. One night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Eric. His voice was shaky. He sounded like a man unraveling. Mike, I need to talk to someone who gets it. I didn't want to talk to him. Didn't owe him anything. But I was curious. We met in the back parking lot of a bowling alley off Route 35. He looked like hell. Skinny. Eyes red. Hands shaking. I thought she loved me, he said. She said she was leaving you. That we were going to start over. I didn't say a word. She dumped me 2 weeks ago. Said I was too damaged. Said I reminded her of her father. He started crying. I ruined my whole life for her. That's when he told me something that changed everything. She kept notes on you. Detailed stuff. Said she was going to use it in therapy. But she wasn't writing for sessions. She was building a story. A way to make you look cold. She showed me once. Said, this is how I'll justify it. She had written a script. To destroy me. To save herself. Eric gave me copies of the emails. The notes. Everything. My lawyer said they were gold. But they weren't just good for court. They were good for something else. Something I hadn't considered until that night. She thought she was the only one playing the long game. But now I had the pieces to flip the whole thing. I waited until the next court date. I'd kept quiet through every hearing. Let my lawyer talk. Let Danielle act. She wore soft colors. Spoke in slow, careful words. Made herself look small. Broken. Like she'd just gotten lost in a storm. But that day, I brought everything. The court wasn't packed. Just a judge, a clerk, 2 attorneys, and a few people waiting for their turn. My lawyer handed over the files. Monica's documentation. Grace's statement. Eric's emails. The handwritten notes Danielle had written about me, the ones where she practiced how to make me look like the problem. Lines like, "Mike never yells, but it's the silence that kills you." And, "He won't hit me, but sometimes I wish he would, so I'd have a reason to leave." The judge took his time reading through it. Danielle sat there, pale. She kept looking at her lawyer like she wanted to scream. When the judge finally spoke, he didn't yell. He didn't raise his voice. But what he said hit harder than anything I could have imagined. "This court finds that Mrs. Taylor," she was still using my last name, "engaged in unethical and manipulative behavior not only in her professional capacity, but in her marriage. The attempt to reframe the cause of this divorce through false claims of neglect is not supported by any credible evidence. Alimony is denied." She tried to speak. Her lawyer stopped her. The judge wasn't done. "Furthermore, these documents show intent to deceive. Calculated manipulation of a spouse and a client. This isn't just a moral failure, it's predatory behavior." He paused. "I'm referring this case to the Attorney General for review." Danielle broke. Right there in the courtroom. She cried. Tried to explain. Said she was under stress. Said she didn't know how to ask for help. No one listened. Afterward, she followed me into the hallway. "Mike, please." I turned to her. "You lied. You used people. You tried to ruin me. But the worst part?" I shook my head. "You didn't even feel bad about it until you got caught." I was lost. "No," I cut in. "You were in control the whole time. You just didn't expect to lose." She didn't follow me after that. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. No alimony. No settlement. She lost her license permanently. Couldn't work as a counselor again. Last I heard, she was applying to customer service jobs in Columbus. Word had spread. People didn't want to be near her. As for Eric, he moved back in with his sister. Lost custody of his kids. His ex took him to court using the same documents I had. He's still trying to put his life back together. Me? I learned something hard. I wasn't perfect either. I didn't see the signs. I wanted peace so badly, I ignored my gut. I made stability my whole identity, and forgot to ask if my partner still felt alive next to me. That doesn't excuse what she did. Not even close. But it taught me to listen sooner. Speak up faster. Love with my eyes open next time. I still live in Dayton. Still do HVAC. The house is gone, I sold it. Too many ghosts. But some nights, when I drive past the old neighborhood, I feel nothing. Not hate. Not regret. Just relief. She wanted time to find herself. She's got it now. And me? I finally found myself too. And I didn't need to destroy anyone to do it.